Well, this week's DIY didn't really go as planned. That happens a lot with DIYs. Hey, I'm Janelle, and this is toDIYfor. If you're new to my channel, I do new DIYs every Wednesday. I know that this is late coming out this week, so I'm sorry, I apologize. But with the lockdown in Ontario, it's been a little bit tricky to source some of the products I need. With delays and deliveries and delays and curbside pickup, so I actually ran out of what I needed to do this week's DIY, so I totally had to pivot midweek and I started a different project. I will get to that one next week because now I have the supplies, but this week I recovered a piece of furniture that I've had for almost 5 years, and I really don't know why I didn't do this sooner because it looks so sexy now. Oh my gosh, I love this piece. And it really completes the whole kind of set that I put together, including last week's DIY with the makeover of that chair. I got the second one done, and now you're gonna see the whole kind of space come together, as this is like the side table for those chairs in our living room. So let's get into this week's DIY.
So this is the table that I'm going to redo. My sister actually found this at a thrift store for me about 5 years ago, and I had always intended to refinish it, and I don't know why I waited so long. So it's actually a record player, which unfortunately doesn't work now. It did years ago. So I'm hoping to find somebody to get it working again for me. So we're just going to do the exterior today and basically start by sanding it down. As you can see, there is a lot of like water damage and just damage on the top here. So this is a veneer piece, which means it's just a very thin piece of wood that coats the top of this, and I don't want to sand that right off, so be careful if you're working on a veneer piece. I did 150 sandpaper on the top there and sanded it nice and slow. I find that works the best, and it took it off really easily. I ended up taking off the legs after I'd sanded the top just because it was a lot easier, and these are a little trickier to sand because they're round, but I got everything sanded down on those. So as you can see, the bottom here, this kind of like brass piece has tarnished, so I just taped that off and I spray painted some gold spray paint on top to give a similar look. And then I went back on this piece and I sanded it down again with a finer grit sandpaper. I think I'm using 220 here, and that just creates a much smoother surface after the rougher sandpaper took off the bulk of everything. So for this, I am going to be using my multi-tool just to get in a lot of those smaller spaces with the sanding. I unfortunately wasn't able to get it as sanded down as well as I thought I might be able to. So we're going to do a combination of restaining and painting here. So this is the same stain that I used last week on the chairs that I did. It's called Red Mahogany, and it actually has a complete different look on this wood. And I don't know what kind of wood this is, but the red really comes through, and I absolutely loved it as I was putting it on. It's just incredible how different this piece already looks. So I just got a sample paint of a black color from Bear Paint, and we're going to accent kind of the front pieces here. So a lot of the detailed work that I wasn't able to fully get the previous finish off of, I covered in black. And that's just because if you were to restain it, you would really see where you didn't get the finish off. So I also painted the legs black. That is because these are not made of the same wood as the rest of the piece, so the stain would not look the same, and I thought that black would just look better. So I painted those all off, and after everything dried, just kind of put it all back together, and I just love how this is looking. I don't know why I didn't do it before. The final piece to this is just giving it a couple of coats of polyurethane. Make sure you do a light sand in between each to get a nice smooth surface, and voila. It is looking absolutely fantastic next to both chairs that are now refinished. I really love how this looks, and like I said, I don't know why I waited so long. So if you have a piece of furniture at home, make sure you get it redone. This did not take too long because it's a lot of just big flat surfaces. It took like nowhere near how long those chairs took, and I just can't believe the outcome that we have. So hopefully I can get the record player actually working and fixed up soon. But if you enjoyed this DIY, be sure to let me know, and I'll be back next week.